We are live 364 days a year.
What are we doing here?
If Dom turns at SummerSlam, I'm shaving my moustache off. I've told you, if that happens, it's going. My lip is cold because of a stupid bet that I made with YouTube.
Oh, good.
Wrestle's better than Daniel Bryan Daniels. Better than Okada.
How do you not get sushi after Monday Night Raw?
Welcome to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, a show where a rotating cast of wrestling fans from around the world come and share and debate their opinions, with live comments from all of you shown throughout, as after all, fans are what makes wrestling so special. So sit back, grab a beverage, and enjoy the show.
What's going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Saturday, December 13th, and you know what that means. One more match for John Cena, and that is today. That is on this day, December the 13th, 2025. And we're going to see that tonight. But before we do, we're going to break down last night's SmackDown. We might talk a little John Cena today because how could you not? It's pretty much like a unofficial holiday at this point, the way things have worked out. Listen, it's been the retirement tour of the year. It's going to continue to be the retirement tour of the year until it ends today. But before it does, let me introduce who I'm hanging out with, who I'm going to be discussing all this with. Out of the gates, let me send this one to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Anthony Ricciardi, you're here. You aren't in the DC area. But are you getting excited for John Cena in his final match?
It's a momentous day as a wrestling fan. I was not the generation of Cena. I was the generation before. So I don't have that sentimental attachment that a lot of people have for Cena. But it is a huge day as a wrestling fan. Obviously, we're going to be talking about SmackDown, which I thought was a very solid show. And obviously, we'll be getting into that. So I'm looking forward to let's get on with it.
No doubt we will for sure, and I'm with you. It is a huge day. I'm from similar generation as you, and when it comes to John Cena, man, do I appreciate the work that he's put in and everything that he did as far as the last 20 plus years and everything. I have a soft spot in my heart for John, no doubt about it. He was never necessarily my favorite. It wasn't my childhood hero. That was our Truth's childhood hero, but it is pretty wild that it's finally wound down. But before it does wind all the way down, I got to send this one to Texas, though, because we've also got a good friend of mine in the building, and I'm not even going to call him controversial. That's Ben's gimmick. We've got Ignacio. How are you? Happy Saturday, my friend.
Hey, happy Saturday here from Houston, Texas. And I can't wait for tonight's show, man. It's going to be a momentous occasion. Can't wait for Cena's last match. And I know there's been a lot of dispute as far as Gunther being his final opponent, but I can't think of anybody more fitting or deserving to be Cena's last opponent. So maybe we could talk about that a little bit later, but let's get on with the show, man. I agree. It was a solid SmackDown. So, let's get on with the first topic here. Very interesting encounter to start it off the show.
No doubt about it. And honestly, I was kind of fascinated by this because it is a goofy situation. The majority of the I'm sorry. Let me read a comment really quick. That just stopped me in my tracks. That's so good. K Quick is Clark's childhood hero. Thank you, DCX Warlord. That's outstanding. That just made me laugh way too hard. You know what? Great shout. And then he said, just for Clark, I hit Cody with 15 fall from graces in 2K25. Nicely done. You had to stack those. I like it. Okay. Let's though get into the show itself. And you brought up a great point, Ignacio, when it comes to a little bit of the criticism about Gunther and not being the opponent, as well as with Cena's match and last night's SmackDown. Last night's SmackDown I thought was excellent. This is what's weird. I felt like a lot of SmackDowns of late have been sort of overshadowed by the narrative about John Cena's final match. And one thing I was really appreciative of, because I said this last week on this show, I thought we'd run into a spot where the tournament overshadows everything else that's going on because we're just curious. I am so glad Gunther won the tournament before this Friday and that we got like a regular SmackDown last night. It all added up. It all made sense. I think that was one of the smartest plays creatively WWE has made in quite some time. And it really did show in last night's program for sure. Femi, I absolutely adore every Tuesday night. You know, there's a little bit of babyface-ish stuff when it comes to Oba and the entrance with the dancing. We were talking about that, before the show. And yeah, there's that. I really did enjoy this back and forth with Cody. Of course, Drew McIntyre's invoked during the promo out of the gates, but then Oba's entrance, standing across from him, taking it all seriously. I'm as excited about this match as I am anything that we're going to get to see today. And I thought they did a heck of a job building it in that segment. And I want to get your thoughts on it, though. Do you think there's any shot that Oba pulls a clean upset against Cody Rhodes this evening?
It could be very interesting. I want to say as a whole for this SmackDown is that in as much as people want to complain about Cena's final run, they didn't do it right. No one would have been fully satisfied, no matter what they did. But I like to look at the nuggets that they did, not only just using Cena, but using Cena-esque stuff. The open challenge with the U.S. title that has been dominant all year. Sammy did it. Dragunov's doing it. Obviously, we'll get the Dragunov. But this whole episode, to me, was an embodiment, and the same thing will be tonight, an embodiment of what Cena brought to the table when he first debuted. The ruthless aggression, slapping Kurt Angle, taking full advantage of an opportunity that was given. It was sink or swim when Cena did that. And that's kind of what Oba Femi had last night. You were in there with the reigning WWE champion. Probably the marquee guy for WWE, as that champion other than Roman. But, Cody's that guy. Cody's now in that position that Kurt Angle was in when Cena confronted him. And Oba's now the guy taking that opportunity. Now, he could have failed. He didn't fail last night. He's ready to swim with sharks. And that's the embodiment of Cena. If Cena brought one thing to professional wrestling, it's the mindset that every talent that comes after him, especially, take every opportunity and run with it. Chelsea Green is phenomenal at that, but a lot of other talents aren't. Even if it's a small segment on a show, you maximize it. And that's what Oba did last night. For people that maybe don't watch NXT, he made a statement last night that the future is now. And it was really well done. I thought Oba really shined as somebody that watches him every Tuesday night. But even if you didn't, he made a statement last night. And Cody let him breathe and let it come off well. Do I think it's going to be great tonight with them? Yes. I don't know if Oba's going to pull the upset. Cena didn't beat Kurt from what I recall. So even in defeat, Oba's going to look strong.
I think so, no doubt. And I'm with you there. And you brought up a great point, though, about Oba made a statement. And not only did he make the statement on the microphone, but I don't know if there's anybody better in a stare down right now in combat sports. And I'm a UFC fan. I'm a boxing fan. I'm a fan of all of that. When you zoom in that camera angle on Oba Femi looking Cody Rhodes dead in the eyes, who in their right mind would want to stand opposite Oba Femi ever? The look, just the piercing of his gaze, for lack of a better way to put it, like the way that he looks right through you almost.
Oba absolutely has this presence, this aura about him that, like, even if you don't know professional wrestling and you're like flipping through the channels and you see him, it's eye-catching. You may stop on the dial. Like,
sure.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of his embodiment with that. I do want to say one very quick thing, if you don't mind.
Go right
I
ahead.
know it's not one of the topics that's on here, but I want to say, as far as showcasing Javon and Miz, it was a phenomenal showing for Javon, and Miz really helped showcase Javon. Like, I really thought that was phenomenal. I know it's not a topic.
Underrated aspect of last night's show, and I am glad you brought that up. But Ignacio, I gotta ask you, when it comes to this topic and it comes to Oba Femi and Cody Rhodes, we haven't really discussed much the threat of Drew McIntyre putting his grubby hands all over this match, and that is definitely a possibility. Do you see that as sort of maybe the out coming out of the promo we had last night? Because Oba Femi, as we mentioned, looked really strong.
Yeah, that seems to be the only way that I believe that Oba would get the win tonight is if some shenanigans by Drew McIntyre. But that the whole aspect of SmackDown has been interesting as well. The feud between Cody and Drew McIntyre. So to fuel their feud going into like Royal Rumble, which I think is going to happen, I wouldn't be mad at that at all if there was some interference. And then it highlights Oba Femi also because, and this was very smart by WWE because it's Cena's last match. There's a lot of eyeballs on Peacock, a lot of eyeballs on the show. So that's a great way to showcase Oba Femi if they decide that they're going to move him up to the main roster pretty soon. Right. As a matter of fact, I think that's the only reason why they're doing it, because we're probably going to see some foreshadowing because we're probably going to see him on the main roster pretty soon. They're probably going to have him in the Royal Rumble and then maybe move him up sometime before WrestleMania. If not, then right after WrestleMania. So this is a great move by WWE. And also going into Oba Femi, I at first I didn't believe the hype or I wasn't on the bandwagon as far as him being eventually being a main event superstar. And I think when he came out last night, he definitely showed a presence. I don't know about the dancing and all that good stuff, but this leads into my point that I think if Oba Femi has the potential to become a main event star, but I don't think it's going to be as the character Oba Femi. Like, I don't think he's going to be main event WrestleMania as Oba Femi. I think eventually he'll get repackaged and, he'll drop the accent. It's similar to like Kofi Kingston, right? Except I don't think Kofi Kingston deserved his spot, and that's a discussion for another time. But, I think eventually he'll get repackaged and he won't be Oba Femi, the character in the main event. He'll be somebody else.
I will say there is one slight difference. I do believe Oba Femi's accent is actually just genuinely that's his accent, right? In how he speaks. So I don't think he'll that's not it's a part of the gimmick, but it's not that isn't right. That's like that's his actual accent.
Yes.
So I do think he'll probably stick with that one in general, like, because we're talking like voice classes and stuff, right, Ignacio? You know what I mean? If you're looking at trying to adjust that part, but I could see a slight repackaging as far as like the character is concerned, and that does make a little bit of sense to me. I think there's another interesting dynamic that can be at play here, and you mentioned the call up to the main roster, Ignacio, and that's something I'm really intrigued in because you mentioned the Royal Rumble as well. Drew McIntyre is going to need a rival after Cody Rhodes. And based on what happens tonight, if he tries to insert himself into this match, Oba Femi's a babyface on NXT. He's a babyface on Tuesday nights. He is. Right this second, he still is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there isn't a bit of an encounter, and that's maybe his introduction to the main roster, and I wouldn't hate that. The two having an absolute slugfest down the road, Oba Femi and Drew McIntyre, as an introduction to Oba Femi on the main roster to sort of put the younger talent over, figure that all out. I would not hate that because Oba Femi, Oba's got this unique, you want to cheer for him thing, despite being an absolute monster, right? Generally speaking, when you have somebody of his size and athletic ability, there's a jealousy aspect that lends you to not necessarily root for them, right? And so if you put him opposite somebody that he physically dwarfs, and then at the same time also dwarfs in the way that he's perceived in relation to them in general, I don't know if that helps. Drew McIntyre can stand opposite of him, and you can have this sort of slugfest type of rivalry coming out of that. I don't think it's the worst option.
I think what you could do, and this is just quasi fantasy booking, what you can possibly do with the run in, because Oba is a face, you can have a ref bump moment because that's entirely possible. Drew gets in there, he's ready to do the Claymore, and out of nowhere, Oba takes him out.
Right.
Gets a pop. So that builds up a feud there. You could still have Oba take the loss because Cody's buddy, who's now a heel,
Yeah.
Ricky could cost it, which adds another element if Cody takes advantage of it, again, planting the seeds for the eventual Homelander thing. You now continue the feud of Oba and Ricky for NXT. You also set up a future match between Drew and Oba. You don't get a clear winner between Cody and Oba. So you get a lot out of that package.
I'm all over that. Actually, I love that idea. No doubt about it. And honestly, we could probably talk about this matchup because it's the one besides Cena's retirement match, which is obviously, the priority. It's the one besides that I'm probably most excited about this evening in general. So we could talk about it the rest of the show, but we do need to move on because Ilya Dragunov continuing with the open challenge and all of that, retains the United States title against Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa. Dude. Tommaso
Ciampa.
Tommaso Ciampa. Okay, we got it. Is it Ciampa or Ciampa?
It's been both.
I'm
depending upon who you ask.
The fact that Ilya Dragunov is the easy one in this match to pronounce is just mind-numbing at the end of the day.
I could tell you this: Tommaso had a pro wrestling T-shirt that was a spoof of the Schwarzenegger line. Get to the Ciampa, it's gone different versions of it, but yes.
Either way, we have Ilya retaining. He gives the heads up to backstage. Look, please don't interfere. I appreciate you guys' support. All of that. I'm trying to do it the honorable way. He invokes, the history of the United States title, and a lot of that I appreciated. I really like this run from Dragunov, but I want to know what the end game is because this Ciampa match was built for quite some time.
Yeah.
And now we just had it. What are your thoughts, Ant?
I think this is one of those things that we talk about every week. The Dragunov match is typically every week the match of the week on SmackDown. Dragunov is a phenomenal workhorse wrestler, just like Gunther was for the IC title. He just embodies everything that those mid-card titles were supposed to always be, being the workhorse title. To groom somebody for potentially the WWE Championship, the World Championship. It's always been that way, at least with the Intercontinental and I guess with the US since they adopted that many years ago. So this was a match that, it does a lot for the US title because it's two guys that it shows that the belt matters. A lot of people go, oh, the belts are props to elevate people. Yeah, but it's done in a way, if the belt means something to the guys or it conveys to the audience that those belts mean something, those championships mean something, that's storytelling. That's to help elevate both guys. So even in defeat, Ciampa in a lot of ways got elevated. Like he's kind of struggled since the NXT Goldie run to kind of find that singles success. Feuds like this, that's money. And I love that each week it's taken more and more out of Dragunov to successfully defend those titles. Each match is taking more out of him. He's getting more bandaged up on the knee. Like you could see it draining him, and you see how obsessed Ciampa is to win that title. Will they do a multi-person match to eventually get the belt off of Dragunov? Possibly. But I'm completely on board. If you want to let this run for a long while, I have no problem with it. I don't know what the record is for the U.S. title because, they the Honky Tonk Man thing, where they built that in for years. So when Gunther was going for it, everyone knew, okay, it's this number. I don't know what the U.S. title one is off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up. But like, it's not something that's predominantly celebrated, I feel. So like, you can kind of do that with Dragunov if you want, if his body will hold up to do it. So I'm all for it.
I like it a lot. And here's the thing for me when it comes to the Dragunov situation. I think it's probably the best place you could put him on the main card right now. Mm-hmm. I don't know what you do with Ilya Dragunov after this ends.
That's always been a problem with a lot of the UK talent. And that's not a knock on them, but like a lot of them struggle after like a mid card. Like there really hasn't been. They have not, other than Gunther. He's the only one that's kind of really.
And he's
got
not even
the world
UK.
title.
He's just Europe.
Yeah,
Right?
but you know what I mean. Like
No,
just
I know. I
in
get the point.
general, like Finn Balor had it for a cup of coffee and never was able to get back up there, other than NXT. So like, there's a lot of them that really struggle. Could Dragunov? I don't think Dragunov would win the WWE Championship. Could he win the World Heavyweight one? Yes. And the reason I separate those two is because I always kind of view it as the WWE it's the pinnacle. It's the goal.
Slightly above.
You know what I mean? Like the
It's
World
weird
Heavyweight
because
title
I
is
do
slightly
feel
above
like,
the Ice Age.
to your point,
Mhm.
during the only time I would argue that they were on par was
Hunter.
somehow when we brought back the big gold belt for Triple H and
When
like
Hunter had it, yes.
way back.
That's when it was more valuable, yeah.
That's the last time it felt like, you know what, they're
Yes.
about on par. When they had to resplit the undisputed title thing.
Yeah, because Brock wouldn't work Mondays.
And part of that is an aesthetic that we've talked about often, which is
Yes.
the difference between what the big gold looked like and what the spinner belt looked like, right? We discussed that. We discussed that last Sunday, did we not, Ignacio? Right? Like
the spinner is
Yeah,
one of
it's
those
just
titles
terrible.
that either you love it or you hate it. I don't
Yeah.
think there's any middle ground.
there's none. There's no middle ground. There's no it's okay.
Yeah.
But speaking of it's okay, this wasn't just okay. I thought this was great. And I actually really enjoyed it. Lash Legend, I think, is awesome. I think it's fascinating that they're now building a women's tag division, and her and Jakara Jackson had a heck of a tag team that we've just now abandoned, essentially. But Lash Legend is a heck of a talent. She's awesome. And I really enjoyed her getting this victory over Alexa Bliss. I think it was important. I think Lash deserves a really good spot on the roster. We forget she's been on the main. We acted like the debut thing happened. No, she wrestled on a Saudi show. She's wrestled in really important places, and she's really accomplished. And I feel like Lash doesn't get enough credit because, and this is no knock on Lash Legend, but there's just unbelievable talent on the women's roster when it comes to NXT. And Lash has gotten overlooked at certain times. She might fit the main roster the best, though. And I'm interested to see what she can do from here. Ignacio, I want to know your thoughts coming out of this one, because it really is a huge win to defeat Alexa Bliss. We're talking about a former champion here and a main roster champion. We're talking about somebody that was pushed to the moon. And Lash Legend comes out last night on Friday night, one day before John Cena retires, and defeats Alexa Bliss. I want your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, no, she did well. I mean, she did really good, and she's got personality, she's got charisma, and I think she has enough to develop a crowd following. And I think I'm really not too familiar with her promo skills. I've seen some like on NXT and stuff, and the recent stuff she's done with Nia Jax recently. But she's definitely somebody who can be developed and coached. And yeah, I think she has like main roster, main event potential for that division. But it was a good win over Alexa Bliss. But I mean, I don't think Alexa Bliss is really like a test to her ability. It's definitely the most prominent superstar that she's gone up against one-on-one on a main show. But like I said, to me, Alexa Bliss isn't really like a standard. Like, let's put her against Bayley, let's put her against Charlotte Flair, let's put her against Becky Lynch, let's put her against the Rhea Ripley, the top stars, and let's see what she can really do. And I think she still needs a little bit of a development to get there. But does she have the talent to get there? Yes, I believe so. She's gonna be a star. She's gonna be somebody to look at. I like her. I like her size. I like her attitude. I think she has a lot of potential. She's definitely somebody that she's definitely somebody they need to feature more often.
I could not agree more. And it's funny because you mentioned the promo ability. I'll say this: anytime somebody has handed Lash a mic when it comes to NXT, and we've been covering that on Off the Air for a while now, man, she delivers. I think you'd be actually blown away if you see some of her promo work, because she's got that she's got like just enough extra edge in the way that she delivers the lines.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where she can really shine on the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because
I don't. And I
go ahead.
go ahead. No, I was saying I like it's. I try to catch NXT as much as I can. It's just whenever I watch it, I miss her. So yeah. I believe you though. Yeah, I believe you.
I think genuinely that's where people are going to be like, oh wait, I didn't know she can tell somebody off as well as anybody on a microphone. That I've seen on NXT as far as development is concerned, because there's something very natural about it.
Yeah.
In the way that her delivery comes across, right? She's got that just like little bit of extra along with it, and I think that will help a lot. I hear where you're coming from a touch on Alexa Bliss, especially of late, but not of late, but of the last few years. Now, I will say this run with Charlotte, though, sort of reestablished her in a way that I do think it is a bigger victory than maybe, we would have said 6 months ago. Would be the way that I would quantify that.
At the end of the day, Lash beat a former women's champion. So just from optics, whether she's doing solid work or not, you've beaten a former women's champion. Javon was able to hang with a former 2-time Grand Slam champion.
Right.
Like, it's all about the opportunity and showcasing them. And that's kind of what last night was about, is about showcasing talent. Lash, I think, is a ton of potential there. I would love to see them eventually. I would love to see a feud with her and Jade, because I do think they match up incredibly well, both on the mic and in the ring. I think it could be an interesting thing, money-making thing down the road.
That I think is fair too, and obviously I also think the Lash and Nia Jax is interesting too, because down the road,
yes,
I think Lash Legend is one of the few women on the roster that could probably slam Nia Jax.
Yes,
and we can get that spot when this does fall out. And I think that could be really big time for Lash Legend, because her athleticism and strength is off the charts. That's something a lot of people don't appreciate about her that much. She is as good of an athlete as you can ask in the WWE. There's no doubt about it. But let's get on to the main event of last evening and our main event of this afternoon before we send you off to go watch John Cena retire. But remember, in WWE 2K, they added intergender matches recently. So, of course, we are going to get mixed tag matches on SmackDown before John Cena's retirement match. We've got Aleister Black teaming with Zelina Vega against the Terror Twins, Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. And I'll tell you what, I enjoyed this for what it was, but I'll say this. It seemed calculated that they wanted to keep Rhea Ripley off of the John Cena retirement card, because dang, do people love her more than anything. You could hear it last night. As soon as the entrance happened, they were like, you know what? She needs to wrestle on Friday. And we're going to have this match on Friday night and not on Saturday night, because Rhea Ripley might be the most over women's wrestler on the planet right now. And I don't know if it's that I just didn't sort of clock it as it was happening. I've always appreciated her work. I've always thought she was unbelievable. I've always thought the world of Rhea Ripley, but she might be in that like official top spot. I don't even truly know how to quantify it. And last night, that was just all I could think, is I was like, wow, she's the most popular person on this card, and it's been a good card. She's the most popular person here. Everybody loves Rhea Ripley. And it threw me for a loop in some ways. Of course, Riptide on Zelina Vega for the victory, but I want to get your thoughts on it, Ignacio, because, man, Ripley sometimes, it's hard to give people flowers while they're actively at their peak. But, man, I feel like we aren't doing enough for Rhea Ripley,
Dude, she hasn't even hit her peak. That's the thing. What is she still like? She's still like in her late 20s or something? What is she, 28, 29? I don't even think she's 30 yet.
It's scary.
Dude, I was like,
how good she can be.
It is scary, like how good she is. Yep. And it's like, you mentioned the video game, right? And it's just like, well, I think they interjected her in this feud because it's just like, it's just been kind of flat. You know what I mean? Because I don't think Zelina Vega and Aleister Black have been, together, booked well together. You know what I mean? Because I like their combination, and everybody was comparing them to, like, Scarlett and all that stuff, that group or that couple. But I mean, I think they do it better. I think they present it better. I think they have more charisma, but they're just not going to get booked very well, because they're going to stay in the mid card. When I believe that Aleister Black should be prepped to go to the main event scene to take on Cody and be a legitimate contender for Cody. That's where I believe he should be. And I think they've put too much stock into Damian Priest, and I really don't think he's going to work out as a true main event star. Like, I think they need to start concentrating on other people at this point with him. So I think they interjected her into this. I think they interjected her into this feud to bring it some life. And it's like, I've never heard anybody talk bad about Rhea Ripley. She's a star. The only thing I can kind of say is I wish she would have kept her size. Like, she's obviously gotten smaller, but I think maybe it's because she wants movie and show roles and all that stuff, and she wants to dip her toe into Hollywood, which I don't blame her. But I liked her better when she was a little bit thicker and a little bit more of an imposing force. And I'll add this before you take over, is that was my point, is that everybody loves Rhea Ripley. She gets all these reactions, and they kept the title and the EL Sky for so long when she should be the focal point of the main roster all the time as far as like the women's division.
I hear where you're coming from. And here's what I'll say about Rhea. I also think generally she's also still pretty physically imposing. Let's be honest with ourselves, right? She's still physically intimidating. And I think also for injury prevention, a lot of things that when it comes to like sports science and all of that and bodybuilding type stuff, because she was nearly a bodybuilder type of build at one stage. It arguably, like, right?
Yeah.
The risk of tearing something and all of that. She's in as good of athletic shape as I think she's ever been in. And I would argue actually like her functional strength in the ring, because you can see it, is as high as it's ever been, despite the look not necessarily adding up to it like it used to. Does that make sense? Right? I would actually argue that her functional strength, she's found the right body, like everything that you need. And don't get me wrong, you and I disagree slightly on EO Sky, in that I do think EO Sky is good, but one thing we do agree on, I think Rhea Ripley is the most popular women's star on the roster right this second. I just think that's the case.
100%.
And
one of the most overall popular.
Yes, overall in general, 100%. And obviously, we got to break all this down. We had a mixed tag match last night. It was always interesting. Damian Priest, former world champion, of course. Aleister Black, who, Ignacio mentioned maybe potentially being groomed to face somebody like a Cody. I think there's something really interesting that I also wanted to bring up on that regard. And that's this. The Black Mass is like as cool of a finisher as there is. Yeah. And I think it's outstanding. But to build Aleister Black, given the character and the way that he operates, I think that it has to be too dominant to make the jump. He's going to have to Black Mass everybody on the men's roster, and you don't move. And I don't know if that's necessarily in the cards, and that's a shame when it comes to a guy that I respect so much, like a Tommy End, like an Aleister Black, no doubt about it. But I do want your thoughts on last night's match, and then we'll wrap up the show with some Cena stuff, because come on, it's the last day. We're not going to not talk about Cena.
Yeah, we got to see that.
Please, yes.
But talking about Rhea Ripley, I think Rhea Ripley in a lot of ways is one of those talents. She doesn't need the title. She's just super over. When you look at like the Undertaker's career, eventually he started getting big gold belts, but like during the peak of his run, he had only held the title like 3 times. He only held the WWE Championship 3 times. So, and for the bulk of it, it was just 2 when other people had 5. But, Rhea really doesn't need it to get over. And the only problem you have with Rhea as champion is that, well, she's got to be a dominant champion. And then they're like, well, who's going to beat her? And then people complain, oh, who beats her? Yeah, I think you could build other stars using her without involving the title. Of the 2, I think Aleister, I see more of a bright future for him than I do Damian, and I like Damian, but like Damian's an upper mid card guy. Alistair, I think, could potentially get a world title reign at some point. But this was a match on the card that was built. Obviously, they've been building it up for weeks. I understood why they put it on there, because they obviously did not want to put it on for Saturday night. I don't know, timing wise, because usually the Saturday night main event shows are only like 2 hours, 2.5. Like they're not the normal 3-hour show. And I think in a lot of ways, I think this was the weakest match on the show, to be honest with you. Because I thought this was a really, really solid SmackDown. And the main event came, and I'm like, it didn't resonate with me the way that it should have, I think, for something that's been built and something that was played off. And I don't know if that's because the rest of the show was just so solid that it just didn't hold up to that, or I don't know what happened, but for me personally, it didn't work for me. I don't know if you feel the same way, Clark, or not.
I think that's totally fair, and I think that's also why I, in some ways, prefaced this with the way that I discussed Rhea Ripley, because that's what it felt like to me. This was about showcasing Rhea Ripley on a weekend that is of this much importance.
Yeah.
And that's where, going into last night's show, let's turn the clock back for a second, right? Going into last night's show, all I could think is, how can you possibly do something of relevance the night before Cena's retirement match? That's what this weekend is about.
Yeah.
Right? That's like having a boxing card right before Tyson Holyfield.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's check that out. Hopefully they're great fights. Right? Like it's like having, could you imagine if there was a full slate of NFL games the day before the Super Bowl? Right? Yeah. Like and I felt like there was a lot of pressure on the WWE going into last night, and I thought they delivered. But I think it was telling when it came to Rhea Ripley. But let's do this really quick, guys, because I wanted to do this, and I'm sorry, Ben, but we got a bonus segment here for you today, because it's the last time we're ever going to be able to do this, and neither of us three who have been around the entire time during his career are ever going to be able to predict the John Cena match again, according to that guy. So the three of us, one by one, are going to predict John Cena versus Gunther, tonight's main event. Ignacio, I'm going to go to you out of the gates. Who do you got? What's the finish look like? How does the end of John Cena and Hustle Loyalty Respect go down?
I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on the show, but I know I've mentioned it to other people and it goes into what I was talking about earlier, is that Gunther had to be John Cena's last opponent, because he's the one that can bring out the best match in John Cena. He can give John Cena his best match. And I think Gunther is going to be the legend. He already retired Goldberg. I think he's going to retire AJ Styles. I think he's going to retire Brock Lesnar eventually. And I think tonight he will retire John Cena, and he's going to make Mr. Never Give Up. And that's going to be his claim to fame. He will make John Cena tap out or say, I quit. And it's kind of like, it's got the mystique of ending the Undertaker streak. He's going to make John Cena give up, and that's going to be the biggest thing coming out tonight. He's going to make Mr. Never Give Up. And I predict that's what's going to happen.
That I hear you, and it's definitely possible, and it's been built that way. I think it's possible, no doubt about it. But Ant, I got to get your pick, and then I'll give mine as well. What do you see? So we've got one pick from Ignacio by submission. What do you got?
I think it's going to be a hard-fought match. I think there's going to be a number of AAs that Gunther kicks out of. I think if Cena had his way, I think he would want to go out on his back. I really do think he would want to lose. That would be just my guess. Now, Cena didn't beat Kurt Angle, but, I kind of feel like Gunther should win it. He's the one that retired Goldberg. He's the one that's going to retire Cena. I agree with Ignacio. I think he's going to be the one that retires AJ Styles. I think he's going to retire possibly Jericho. Like, I think he's going to retire all these people. And then he's Brock. He's going to retire Brock, but I think somebody like Femi or Braun Breaker is probably going to be the one of the current crop of people, depending upon how long Gunther wants to go. They're going to retire him. So the lineage of the legends and future Hall of Famers that Gunther has now taken out, he's going to be taken out. And that lineage goes with it, almost like a title. Like, you get all of that. You've beaten the most dominant Intercontinental champion all the time, the most dominant UK champion. You've beaten the guy that's buried everybody. Like, I think that's the logical move. Gunther can get a great match out of anybody. And he was the right pick for Cena. The only other person would have been AJ Styles. But we got that match. You could have done Punk. Punk would have worked too, but since you couldn't get Edge was off the table. Edge is the dream opponent. So with Edge not being there, Gunther's the logical choice.
Yeah, I hear you there 100%. So what do you have the exact finish as, though? Let's be clear.
I think it's possibly a submission, but it might not even be Cena tapping out. It might be a sleeper or something, and the hand drops 3 times.
There you go. There you go. Okay. My final pick, I'm not changing anything. I've been here since Sunday. They're going to hit Brock Lesnar's music after an own heart finish. That's what Gunther is going to do. Gunther respects the ring. He's the ring general, the ring general. He respects the sport. He respects all of it. He will beat John Cena, but he will not make him quit. And then when Brock Lesnar comes and tries to ruin the party, Gunther will look backwards at the ring and look at John Cena and give him a nod before he goes, no, my friend. There are no more suplexes. It's over. It's finally over. And John Cena will deliver a great retirement speech and everything and ride off into the sunset in Washington, D.C. And that has been my prediction since the beginning, and it's the most logical way to do this. That's how I feel, my friends. But with that, the very last time we'll ever get to predict a John Cena match or cover him main eventing on a show feels a bit weird. I'm glad it was the 3 of us, though, and thank you everybody that tuned in. It's been a great show. Let's absolutely talk soon, no doubt about it. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Of course, that's noon Pacific, 3 o'clock on the East Coast. It's 8 o'clock in the UK at 9 a.m. for my good friends in Hawaii. I hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. Enjoy Saturday night's main event. This comes along once in a lifetime. Whether you're a Cena fan or not, if you love pro wrestling, tonight is going to be special, and it's important to remember that. Have a great night. Have some good food. Give some big hugs, and enjoy the show, and we will definitely talk to you soon. Have a great day. Whatever.